The MangaDex situation has escalated to gigantic proportions because as of now, there are more than 7,000 mangas that have been deleted off of the face of the website. And that comes as terrible news for a ton of the Western audience, people that love reading anime and manga, because over here in the West, we don't have too many options when it comes to legitimately reading manga. I mean, there's your handful of series that are gonna be translated by Wiz and Shonen Jump, but not every series is gonna have a simultaneous translation, if they get any translation at all. MangaDex is a site that, of course, yes, ran unauthorized. They ran without permissions by the actual big publishers, but that's because they were being helped out by fans that scanned in their favorite mangas and translated them because they wanted to share that to the rest of the world. Something that people take for granted. I mean, the people that translate these scans are doing it just because they love what they do, most of the time. And what we've seen here is one of the largest scale DMCA strikes that have ever hit a website. I mean, when we're looking at it, this isn't something that just came in all in one day. The records suggest that ever since probably like early May, they've been trickling in, taking down a few titles until it just started accumulating, and we just started to see that MangaDex had to buckle under the weight of it all. I mean, these are big name companies that MangaDex has been confronting at this point, really. I mean, let me go down the list of some of the companies that have been submitting these DMCA requests. Kodansha, Square Enix, One Piece Books, Webtoons. And sometimes the amount of requests that they actually put down are more than 100 a day. It gets pretty intense for MangaDex when they're facing the repercussions of all of this. MangaDex is under heavy fire for these things, and it makes sense. Anime companies, manga companies have always been extremely protective of their works. I mean, don't you remember the legal action that was taken over leaks for JJK? This stuff is serious for them, and it makes sense because this is a business that makes billions of dollars. And the Western market is an untapped market for a lot of manga. I mean, just think about it. Officially, the West only receives a sliver of content that Japan actually produces. When you go to Japan, you'll find manga that people have never even heard of, gems that people never discovered, or people just don't talk about aside from the Japanese. Unauthorized third-party sites are the only hope we have of getting some sort of translations for these hidden gems. And that kind of sucks because the only other way that you can discover manga like this, gems, are if you go to Japan and you're able to actually read Japanese. Then you're able to pick up whatever obscure book you're able to find and then just pick it up from there. The wide majority of people don't have that luxury. And the worst part of it all is that these large name companies are probably not gonna ever translate those small books that never got past a few volumes. I mean, there's no financial incentive for them to go back in that entire catalog that they've got. Sometimes the only way to recover this is if you're able to find one hardcore fan of a series that is willing to introduce it to a whole new audience. But that's not the only situation that we've got over here of unknown stories just being completely disappearing off of a site. We've got big name manga as well. I mean, some of the manga that have been affected by this huge DMCA request are things like 20th Century Boys, an absolute masterpiece. Akira, a classic. Azumanga Daioh, one of the funniest mangas that you could probably ever read, and one that you definitely know the memes from. Dragon Ball, Frieren, Golden Kamuy, Hajime no Ippo, JoJolion, Jujutsu Kaisen, Vinland Saga. These are big titles as well. Some of them, yes, like JoJolion and the JoJo Lands have not been translated yet, but Viz Media and other publishers are getting to that. They know that there's an audience waiting for them to get translated. They're just waiting for the right time to come out with them. These make more sense if you're looking at it in that way because these are bigger name series that are already being published. So there's a way for people to get a hold of these, but sometimes it's not gonna be the best. I mean, if you wanna have a legitimate way of reading JoJolion or JoJo Lands, you're probably gonna have to pick up the official Japanese copy because that's not gonna be coming out for probably the next few years. And now this story has been evolving for quite some time now because a few days ago, the number was only at 700 manga being removed. And again, now we're at 7,000. So at this point, it completely makes sense as to why scans and scanlators are moving from the site and looking at other options. MangaDex, as they know it, might be completely compromised, and it totally makes sense. And something that we're seeing too is that MangaDex seems to be only the first step that these companies are taking on really hammering down things like leaks and Western releases that are unauthorized. Because if you look at subreddits, yes, subreddits, like the one for Blue Lock, it's gotten quite a bit more intense in terms of enforcing the rules that they have. Now leaks are completely banned, and you can't post links that go to unofficial translations, which is because, as we see, they've actually gotten in contact with the official publishers of Blue Lock that have asked them to remove such links and things from that subreddit. So it looks like they're going for the much wider audience in terms of what they're able to remove. They're not just limiting themselves to sites like MangaDex. And with all of this, it just makes me think of how much of an impact the Western audience has actually had in terms of anime and manga. I mean, as of recently, the entire world is pretty much now watching anime and reading manga. It is a medium that the entire world is now invested in. People love this. It has grown far further than just Japan. And Japan recognizes this as well. Because from this nice thing that was posted on Reddit, the Kyoto International Manga Museum has this plaque that talks about the good and bad about piracy, and how piracy in the West, for the most part, has expanded the reach of anime and manga to the point that now that is a huge portion of the market. So sites like this were incredibly necessary to see anime and mangas grow. Without sites like these, people in the US would never have conversations about the newest chapters of JJK, about the leaks that have been going on, about everything. It was absolutely necessary for these sites to continue. And when you're looking at it too, I mean, Japan's not really brushing over the Western audience at all. I mean, recently there was that acquisition that was made by Gotti of My Anime List, a site that was primarily used by the Western audience. I mean, 99% of the people on that site were from the West. So they know that the value is there, but the thing is, fans want more access to more content, and it's really hard to do with them just trickling out bits and pieces of what they want to us. It's a hard discussion to have because I'm on the fence. I love to read manga and I love to read as much as I can, so any obscure series that just happens to show up on the front page of Reddit or just happens to show up in a recommendation of mine, I'm gonna dive into and I'm gonna see if I'm gonna absolutely enjoy it. But it makes sense as to why these companies want to get paid and have their artists be recognized. Because when you're supporting a third-party pirated manga site like this, the artist isn't getting any money. Shonen Jump isn't getting any money. Shueisha isn't getting any money. There's nothing that's being given to that company other than word-of-mouth growth. So I don't really know. I feel like regardless, I'm gonna have to find some sort of way to dive back into my favorite series. I mean, I wasn't one of those that saved every manga that I've ever read. That would have been way too much work, but I know some good Samaritan out there definitely has. But with all this, I guess I'm gonna throw it back to y'all. What do you guys think about this entire MangaDex situation? Do you think the site has been completely ruined, or do you still think there's some chance for it to come back? Please, let me know down in the comments below. Who knows, maybe at the end of the day, all of this is gonna be blown out of proportion and MangaDex is somehow gonna end up with the same old stuff. Only time can tell on something like that. But as always, I was Randy, and I'll be seeing y'all next time. Peace.